People spend their whole life searching for the one habit that will finally fix everything: success, relationships, confidence, money, discipline, leadership, growth. They look for hacks, shortcuts, quick formulas, 10-step routines, billion-dollar secrets. But the truth is, there is only one habit that separates the people who succeed from the people who suffer. Only one habit that changes the way you think, behave, respond, decide, and grow. Only one habit that decides whether you become powerful or powerless. And that habit is emotional intelligence. Most people underestimate it because it sounds soft, quiet, invisible. But the people who master it become unstoppable, not because their life gets easier, but because their mind gets stronger. Emotional intelligence is not about suppressing emotions, it's about mastering them. It's about becoming the driver instead of the passenger, the leader instead of the follower, the creator instead of the reactor. The moment you understand your emotions, your entire life begins to shift. You start seeing the world differently. You start seeing people differently. You start seeing yourself differently. And when your perception changes, your choices change. When your choices change, your habits change. When your habits change, your future changes. Everything begins with emotional intelligence. People destroy their own life not because they lack talent, but because they lack emotional control. They get angry at the wrong time. They speak when they should stay silent. They stay silent when they should speak. They panic when they should stay calm. They give up at the moment they should persist. They trust the wrong people. They ignore the right ones. They take things personally. They act out of impulse. They attach their self-worth to temporary feelings. All of this comes from one source: low emotional intelligence. And this one weakness is responsible for broken relationships, failed careers, ruined opportunities, damaged confidence, and wasted potential. Think about the people you admire most. They are not the loudest. They are not the fastest. They are not the strongest physically. They are emotionally powerful. They can stay calm under pressure. They can think clearly when everything is going wrong. They can communicate without insecurity. They can listen without ego. They can act without fear. They can walk away without anger. They can say no without guilt. They can absorb criticism without collapsing. They can fail without losing identity. This is emotional intelligence. This is the habit that creates leaders, builders, creators, innovators, founders, winners. Jack Ma once said, "Your IQ may get you hired, but your EQ will get you promoted." And he is right. The world is full of intelligent people who never achieve anything meaningful, not because they lack brains, but because they lack emotional discipline. They react emotionally instead of responding intelligently. They take everything as a personal attack. They think every disagreement is disrespect. They mistake feedback for rejection. They mistake patience for weakness. They mistake silence for defeat. Low EQ turns you into a victim of your own emotions. High EQ turns you into the architect of your life. Mastering emotional intelligence means understanding yourself, not just your strengths, but your triggers. Everyone has triggers: disrespect, criticism, pressure, uncertainty, rejection, failure, embarrassment. But most people let their triggers control them. Someone says a few words and they explode. Someone ignores them and they collapse. Someone doesn't appreciate them and they lose motivation. This is emotional slavery. This is how lives get stuck. When you develop emotional intelligence, those same triggers become signals instead of explosives. Instead of reacting, you observe. Instead of panicking, you analyze. Instead of attacking, you understand. Instead of withdrawing, you communicate. You begin to see emotions as data, not commands. And the moment that shift happens, you stop being controlled. You become centered. You become grounded. You become someone who cannot be shaken easily. People with emotional intelligence know how to handle criticism without letting it destroy their confidence. They know how to handle failure without letting it define their identity. They know how to handle success without letting it inflate their ego. They know how to handle stress without losing their clarity. They know how to handle conflict without losing their respect. This is the habit that makes you unstoppable, not because life gets easier, but because your inner world gets stronger than your outer challenges. Most people think emotional intelligence is only about controlling anger, but that's just the beginning. EQ is also about controlling excitement. When you get too excited too fast, you trust the wrong people, you invest in the wrong ideas, you overcommit, you reveal too much, you rush decisions. Excitement without emotional intelligence leads to regret. EQ teaches you to pause even when you're happy, to stay aware even when things are going well, to think clearly even when everything looks perfect. This one skill alone saves you from disasters disguised as opportunities. Emotional intelligence also teaches you how to deal with people. The good ones, the difficult ones, the fake ones, the jealous ones, the insecure ones, the unpredictable ones. When you understand emotions, you understand people. You know when to stay close. You know when to distance yourself. You know when to speak. You know when to remain silent. You know when someone needs help. You know when someone is manipulating you. You know when someone is projecting their insecurity onto you. You know when to walk away. EQ gives you social clarity. Without it, you will always be confused by people's behavior. Another part of emotional intelligence is self-awareness, the ability to see your own patterns. Most people repeat the same mistakes because they never study themselves. They never ask why they react emotionally. They never question their impulses. They never reflect on their choices. They never examine their failures. They never analyze their emotions, so they remain stuck in loops. High EQ breaks those loops. You see the pattern, you see the trigger, you see the reaction, and you change it consciously. This is how emotional intelligence rewrites your destiny. Think about how much of your life is controlled by emotions. Your relationships, your communication, your confidence, your discipline, your productivity, your decisions, your energy, your behavior, your habits. If your emotions are unstable, your entire life becomes unstable. But if your emotions become strong, mature, and grounded, every part of your life rises automatically. People with emotional intelligence know how to build relationships that last. They know how to express their needs without anger. They know how to communicate boundaries without guilt. They know how to love without losing themselves. They know how to support without sacrificing their well-being. They know how to apologize without ego. They know how to forgive without forgetting the lesson. They know how to distance themselves from toxicity without drama. This habit alone transforms your social life completely. Emotionally intelligent people do not chase validation. They do not beg for attention. They do not need constant approval. They know their worth. They know their direction. They know their values. And because they are secure internally, they are unshakable externally. They don't get jealous easily. They don't get offended easily. They don't get manipulated easily. They don't get discouraged easily. You cannot break someone who understands their emotions. You cannot control someone who understands their triggers. This is what makes emotional intelligence the ultimate habit of power. The biggest mistake low EQ people make is thinking everything is personal. Someone is busy, they assume they're being ignored. Someone forgets something, they assume they're not valued. Someone gives feedback, they assume it's rejection. Someone says no, they assume it's disrespect. This creates emotional storms that destroy relationships and opportunities. When you raise your emotional intelligence, you stop jumping to conclusions. You stop assuming intentions. You stop creating stories in your head. You start seeing reality clearly. And clarity is one of the most powerful gifts you can give yourself.
Emotional intelligence also makes you incredibly productive, because when your emotions are stable, your focus becomes sharp. When your focus is sharp, your work becomes powerful. You stop wasting energy on overthinking, drama, insecurity, conflict, jealousy, fear, and doubt. You use that energy for building, creating, learning, improving, executing. Emotional chaos kills ambition. Emotional intelligence fuels it. That is why the most successful people in the world are not emotionally messy. They are calm, composed, clear, and focused. They protect their emotional state because they know it controls their performance. Another powerful part of emotional intelligence is delayed reaction. Most people react instantly and regret instantly. High EQ people wait, they breathe, they think, they analyze, they choose the response that aligns with their long-term vision, not their short-term feelings. This habit alone protects your reputation, your relationships, your mental peace, and your opportunities. Reacting instantly may feel strong in the moment, but responding intelligently makes you strong in life. Emotional intelligence is also about resilience, the ability to bounce back after failure. Low EQ people get stuck in their emotions. They fail once and give up. They get rejected once and hide. They get criticized once and collapse. High EQ people feel the pain, but they don't stay there. They don't drown in emotions. They rise through them. They observe the weakness, fix it, and return stronger. They don't fear failure. They understand it. They learn from it. They respect it. Emotional intelligence transforms failure into fuel. EQ gives you the ability to sit with difficult feelings without letting them break you. You learn to sit with discomfort without running away. Sit with anxiety without collapsing. Sit with uncertainty without panicking. Sit with sadness without losing hope. Sit with anger without destroying relationships. The ability to sit with your emotions without reacting is one of the highest forms of self-mastery. And this habit changes your entire life because it prevents small emotional waves from turning into big emotional storms. People with emotional intelligence also make better money decisions. Why? Because money decisions are emotional decisions disguised as financial decisions. Shopping, overspending, gambling, rushing into investments, trusting the wrong opportunities, chasing shiny objects. These come from emotional impulsivity. High EQ gives you patience, clarity, awareness, and discipline. You think long-term. You analyze risk. You avoid emotional spending. You stay calm during financial pressure. You don't chase trends. You make decisions based on facts, not feelings. This alone increases your wealth. Emotional intelligence also upgrades your leadership. Nobody follows a person who can't control their own emotions. Nobody trusts a leader who gets angry easily, panics easily, collapses under pressure, or gets offended by small things. Leaders with high EQ create stability for others because they have stability within themselves. They can motivate without manipulation. They can correct without humiliating. They can guide without controlling. They can give feedback without attacking. They can inspire without forcing. People follow leaders who make them feel safe. And emotional intelligence is the habit that creates that safety. When you practice emotional intelligence daily, your relationships improve, your discipline improves, your confidence improves, your communication improves, your focus improves, your decisions improve, your self-control improves. Every part of your life rises because you rise internally. This is why emotional intelligence is the one habit that changes everything. But how do you develop this habit? You start with awareness. You observe your emotions before acting on them. You identify your triggers. You ask why instead of reacting. You take responsibility instead of blaming. You respond instead of reacting. You communicate calmly. You set boundaries clearly. You walk away from emotional chaos.
You take breaks when overwhelmed. You think before speaking. You reflect before deciding. You learn from your emotional mistakes. You grow a little more every day. Emotional intelligence is not built in one day. It's built daily, through small moments, through conscious choices, through controlling impulses, through listening deeply, through pausing intentionally, through choosing growth over comfort, through choosing clarity over confusion, through choosing responsibility over reaction. With time, you become someone who cannot be shaken easily, someone who has emotional strength, emotional clarity, emotional maturity, someone who is respected, trusted, valued, admired, not because they demand it, but because they embody it. People think emotional intelligence is a soft skill, something optional, something nice to have. But here is the truth that very few people understand. Emotional intelligence is the engine behind every powerful decision, every smart relationship, every moment of clarity, every rise after a failure, every breakthrough that doesn't make sense to the outside world. The world doesn't respect noise, it respects control. People don't follow the loud, they follow the stable. Success doesn't belong to the smartest or the strongest, it belongs to the person who can manage themselves when everything goes wrong. Your entire life can change the moment you stop being controlled by emotions and start using emotions as data, as information, as tools. When your anger becomes awareness, your fear becomes preparation, your sadness becomes depth, and your frustration becomes discipline, you become unstoppable. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop breaking down and start breaking through. You stop being pulled by the world and start pulling the world with you. If you want to change your life, don't first change your job, your city, your friends, or your environment. Change your emotional intelligence. Build the inner strength that can survive chaos, pressure, criticism, setbacks, betrayal, and uncertainty. Because once your mind is calm, your path becomes clear. And once your emotions are in your control, your future is in your control. Remember this, people with emotional intelligence don't have easier lives. They just handle life in a way that looks impossible to others, and that is the real advantage. So if you're ready to transform, if you're ready to grow, if you're ready to walk into the next chapter of your life with power instead of fear, then start with this one habit. Master your emotions, build your intelligence, strengthen your inner world. Because the world respects only one kind of person, the one who respects their own mind. And always remember this punchline: the person who controls their emotions controls their life. Like, share, and subscribe if you're ready for the next level of your journey. Your future is watching, and it's waiting for you to step into it with strength.